Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about the process of feeling or being guilty, you know what I mean, and knowing when that's actually over and you already utilized it. So what kind of brings me to this subject today is just kind of getting to a space of like understanding why do we hold on to certain principles and like just certain different things in the spiritual realm. And it's like I was thinking about one situation a few years ago when me and my BM had first separated, and it was a situation with me and my mini, and it was one of those things that happened as a new parent. I don't want to say made a mistake because I knew what I was doing. I just thought I was going to be fast enough to do it, blah, 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 whatever. Didn't work out, you know what I mean? And I realized, like, at that moment in time, during that process, how guilty I felt for it, you know? Just being a man, and two, just knowing that I'm supposed to be more responsible, blah, blah, blah. Just all the things that go hand in hand with it, right? And it was like for 3 to 6 months, just about, like, I always had to validate my daughter in that experience, you know what I mean? And it was like shit that, you know, as a first-time parent, you have situations where you want to risk it for the biscuit or do certain things and just, you know, because you knew in the position. But it wasn't about just being new in the position. It was about the whole guilt process. That's the first and one and only big thing that I've ever really had with my mini, opposed from, like, the life situation that's happening now. But it just reminded me of the guilt that I felt. I felt extremely guilty, like, and it was like I had to wear that and to bear that every single week when I was with my mini. If she decided to, like, bring it up or talk about it, in her mind or in her world, she always still mentioned it as daddy saving her, but it wasn't like a situation where she needed saving from, you know. I just kind of stepped out the house. She didn't know I was like not in the vicinity at that time, and she just kind of, you know, just kind of in a little chaotic array. And it was like she had the right to bring that situation up in her world to me or her mom, because I never denied or invalidated any of that, because I had a whole upbringing of that shit, right? But I realized that even if I wanted to get mad or frustrated or angry, even if I did experience those, if she brought it up, or if I thought of it myself, because she didn't have to bring it up, I would still think of it even when she wasn't with me or something, or maybe I just thought of her and just start feeling guilty, like, you know what I mean? And it took, like, not a lot of efforts, but it took a lot of, like, times hearing this and going through that process and acknowledging it and taking that slap and taking that punch and taking that hit for something that I did. I didn't know my offense was over until about 5 to 6 months later, and I knew it was over because I never had to hear my daughter talk about it anymore. She never brought it up anymore. I always made sure I was there by her side. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like a lot of things that I had to stay consistent in to clear myself of that offense in the spiritual realm. You know what I mean? Everything, we already know over here, everything isn't always physical, and I'm not talking about the beings who use guilt as a weapon. I'm talking about the shit that we actually do ourselves that we feel guilty for. Because what happens is, it's kind of like the system. So let's say I denied her of her reality. You know what I'm saying? Or the reality. Fuck her reality. It's the reality. It's what's happened. See, I denied her of the reality. That's like, it's putting me out on bond spiritually, and I'm still gonna have to pay for this shit. But it also puts her in a more detrimental space, in a more untrustworthy space, you know? And it's kind of like, you want to create the strongest base that you possibly can. You know what I'm saying? So understanding how people interact and respond to certain situations is huge, you know? So when you wearing that guilt of one situation and you don't take care of it, and then you running down the line and then you bump into another situation of guilt that you did and you feel bad for, you know what I'm saying, and you don't take care of it, it compiles up. And the more it compiles up, the more weight it adds. So what do you think that weight is gonna do if it is not healthy weight? What do you think that weight is gonna do? It's gonna weigh you down. It's gonna stay in your spirit world. You're gonna keep thinking about it, processing it. It's gonna fuck with you some days you wake up. It's gonna fuck with you some days you go to sleep. You know, it's gonna be a whole lot of things that happen with that process. But I realized, like, with that situation with me and my many years ago, like, she knows that she can trust daddy because it's already been proven. Like, and I've already proven that in the spiritual realm, you know, as far as clearing myself of my offense. So even if you don't get found guilty of shit in the physical realm, it's still shit that we do every day out here that we do get found guilty of, and that we should be operating and doing differently. And I know that's not always the case, but that's where we at now, and that's what we should be understanding. There's a lot of traffic behind me. That's why I keep cutting back here. So I'm focused, but I have to be aware because there's a lot of activity around here right now. Just randomly decided to pull up. Actually, I'm not gonna say randomly. It pulled up because that's what it has to do. But yeah, the guilt process. You don't want to carry around more luggage and baggage. You know what I'm saying? So even for the smallest things, you want to make sure that you are addressing them appropriately. You taking care of that guilt and you knocking your offenses out the way. So some people, when you do shit or they do shit, they don't want you to talk about it no more. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a situation where some invisible man broke my headphones and somebody apologized for it, but they was like, and I think I had mentioned it the next day or the day after or something, and they didn't, they was like, you don't have to keep bringing it up because they already apologized for it or whatever. And in my world, I'm just thinking like her saying that and them saying that is kind of like me telling my daughter that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's an offense created. You know what I'm saying? So when the spiritual realm has cleared you, that's when you know you won't be hearing it be discussed anymore. You won't have to worry about somebody re-bringing something up or reiterating something because it's going to be cleared away in the spiritual realm. But a lot of people don't want to look at these tactics or these things with validity. You know what I'm saying? And we already know a lot of that is because of the playbook. You know, they got the witchy playbook over here. So once they start receiving their information over here, it won't be the same process. But as far as for us, that's one way we keep our slates clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even if we haven't fully taken care of things, like say it was some old things that we did prior in our past when we was younger and we got to a higher place of ascension and we like, all right, well, now I want to start clearing off some of these old tabs that I had already. We're going to go back and clear those tabs off because we don't want to take any of this luggage or baggage with us in the spiritual realm. You can have all the physical shit you want, but you want to go as light as a feather in the spiritual realm. So you got to make sure that whatever you're doing, you know, and any offenses that you create in that, you wearing them. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to take it on the chin. And if the other people around you aren't wearing theirs and don't want to take it on the chin, I'm not really speaking about them today. Today is more so about us, you know what I'm saying? So we got to make sure we stay airtight. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of warring going on out here, and a lot of people aren't understanding. That's why a lot of this kind of conversation and information don't get pushed out. And that's why it gets minimized before it even gets a chance to get pushed out. So it all makes sense, you know what I'm saying? But we have to make sure that we are clearing our offenses. You don't know how long it's going to be in the spiritual realm. I didn't know it's going to be fucking 3 to 6 months that I was going to be cleared from that offense, you know what I'm saying? But I got cleared from it. And it's other examples. That's just, y'all know me, I'm just going to only pull one. So it's numerous of things that happen. So just be aware and make sure you are clearing yourself of these things and not just hindering, lingering, lollygagging, you know what I'm saying, packing that shit up in a suitcase to save it for later, putting it in a storage box and containers and shit. Like, once you become aware, you're not like awarded or allowed those privileges anymore. You know, it's certain things that you lose once you become enlightened to a certain space, you know. So that's just some things we got to know and be aware of at all times, you know what I'm saying. Make sure that you are riding your shit 10 toes down, you know what I'm saying. So if you create an offense, you gotta wear it. We have to wear them, you know what I'm saying. There is no skating around. I think most of us in this position already understand that. That's why we already know about making menses and, you know what I'm saying, going back and closing chapters and doors and just healing certain areas over here. Most of us in this space already understand that, you know what I mean? And this is just another angle of approaching it, you know what I'm saying? Even some places we were found guilty, and all right, now it's time. Boom, your ass was out on bond for 3 years. All right, now it's time. Your ass was out on bond for 7 years. All right, now it's time. Once you become aware and enlightened to that frequency, it's time. It's time. Your bond is over with. So now you have to do something. So if you don't do anything in the more natural flow of things, this side is gonna pull you in a direction. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't want to run it up too long. Tapping anything down below. Peace and love to the kings and queens.